Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to Germany and we're going to have a look at another brewery who I have never tried anything from before. And these guys are one of the numerous kind of new wave craft breweries that are popping up in Germany at the moment. So for this review then we are going to go down to Hamburg and we're having a look at my first ever beer from Buddleship Brauerei. So this one is the Mr. T. It's a black IPA coming in at 6.5% ABV, and hopefully it should be really quite nice. I think this is only the second or third black IPA that I've ever had from Germany, come to think of it. I think the only other one I had might have come from Hamburg, Bavaria, who are another one of these really nice new wave craft brewers, although in fairness I think they do a lot of the traditional styles of beer as well. But really looking forward to trying this one. This is a beer that I bought at liquor shop Asahiya in Taishibashi Maichi in Osaka from Koji, my Japanese beer dealer. And the reason I got this one was basically, this was a German brewer that I hadn't heard of. I love German beers. If you've watched the channel before, you'll know that. I'm a huge fan of my traditional German beers. But I thought it was really cool that we were able, I was seeing a German brewery that I hadn't heard of before. He had 3 beers come in. I think one was a West Coast IPA, one was a New England IPA, and then there was this one, the black IPA. And I chose this one just because at that time in Japan I hadn't actually had a black IPA, and I was planning to review this one when I was over there. But I ended up with so many Japanese beers and I had the notes all ready for them. I was worried I wouldn't have enough weight to take them home, so I ended up bringing this bottle back to Sweden with me. So perhaps this is the most well-travelled bottle of Buddleship Brauerei beer that there's been so far. It's been from Germany, it's been from Hamburg to Osaka, and then it's come back with me to Lund here in the south of Sweden. So perhaps the most well-travelled bottle of Buddleship Brauerei beer that there's been so far. But definitely looking forward to trying this one. Excited to introduce another German craft brewery to you here on the channel. Very exciting things down in Germany at the moment. It's really interesting to see how all of these classically trained brewers are doing things when they're having a go at the American beer styles. There's some very exciting stuff, and Hamburg I think is starting to get a good number of little craft breweries at the moment, so I need to go back there and try a few more of those. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. The Mr. T Black IPA at 6.5% from Buddleship Brauerei in Hamburg in northwestern Germany. So yeah, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Buddleship Brauerei. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, as I mentioned. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the German beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, which is pretty regularly, about 4 or 5 times a month at least. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then, to tell you a little bit about Buddleship Brauerei. And I will give a shout out to Hop van Helden as well, who I often use for making the notes for the German craft breweries. They've got a great selection of articles and things there, and that gives me a lot of the information on the new German craft breweries. But anyway, as I mentioned to you already, Buddleship Brauerei are based in Hamburg, and they were founded by Simon Simglus, who is a Hamburg native, and he's been around the world a good few times and then finally returned home. So he lived in Montreal, in Quebec, over in Canada, where he studied economics and international politics, and then he moved to London to complete a master's degree. Along the way he discovered craft beer, and then in 2008 he went to Berlin to study for 6 months to become a certified brewer. He completed an internship at Nockherberg in Munich, and then he went to China to work for Paulaner before returning to London to work at 0 Degrees Brewing in around 2010. So he then went to Heriot-Watt University in Edinburgh, who, as I've told you before, have produced numerous craft brewers, and there he took part in the master's degree programme in brewing and distilling. And they then went to live with his girlfriend in Hong Kong before returning to Hamburg, and I'm guessing that the connection in Hong Kong is probably what's got his beers over into Japan. There's a hell of a good craft beer scene these days in Hong Kong with Heroes Brewing and lots of others, Guelo and Yardley Brothers. There's a lot of really good breweries in Hong Kong these days. days. But this particular brewery is based in Stellingen in Hamburg, which is kind of to the northwest of the main central part of the city, and you can find it in an old fish hall. So he started with a 10 hectolitre brew kit, and then he invested a six-figure sum in all of his tanks and equipment as well. So he invested nearly €100,000 in this brewery. He started brewing 2 days a week from March 2014, and he's gradually scaled up the brewery over the last couple of years. But as of March 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, he's produced 67 different beers, and there's a lot of different styles in there. There's New England IPAs, there's West Coast IPAs, there's porters, there's traditional German styles of beers as well, like Helles and Dunkels and stuff like that too. So a really interesting brewery, this one, and hopefully I can try a few more of their beers for you at some point soon. Like I said, this was one of the 3 beers that Koji got into his shop in liquor shop Asahiya in Taishibashi Maichi, Osaka, so it was quite cool to just randomly come across this brewery. Hamburg's a lovely city, of course. If you go there, enjoy it. I really want to go back. Every time I go there, I go to the Miniatur Wunderland, the big train set thing. I think it's the biggest train set in the world, basically, and that's always a really interesting visit. But Hamburg is a lovely, lovely city, and there's a very good beer scene there that you can check out as well. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about Buddleship Brauerei for the moment. Hopefully this isn't the last time you see them on the channel, and I hope that this turns out to be a very nice beer. If you want to learn more about this brewery, of course, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer and Untappd pages to learn more about the 60 or 70 different beers that these guys have done so far. So yeah, let's get on to the tasting of this one and see how we get on. So this beer is actually named after Simon's Thai Ridgeback, who is called Tiga, and she is apparently I guess it's Mr. T. I guess it's probably a boy actually, but Tiga is apparently the brewery guard dog. But I think by the sounds of the article that I was reading on Hop van Helden, not much of a guard dog, more of just a big friendly kind of ball of fur. But there you can see Tiga on the label there. But it says here, this beer, I think probably they're giving part of their profits to the Macau Stray Dogs Association. Macau, of course, just across the water from Hong Kong. Really nice little place, actually, quite interesting. You've got the southern island, which has all the modern kind of casinos and things like that, and then you've got the northern island of it, which really has all of the kind of old Portuguese sort of influence things. It's a really interesting place, Macau, actually. Only 800,000 people or so compared to Hong Kong's 8 million, so it's quite different. Definitely worth taking a day trip over there if you find yourself in Hong Kong. There you can see the Buddleship Brauerei bottle cap on this one, which is really quite interesting, and yeah, this looks really quite nice, I have to say. I have to compliment them on the artwork there, and there you can see Buddleship Brauerei Hamburg on that label there as well. You can also see, if you're very interested, there is the Japanese import sticker on this one. But a 6.5% black IPA, 330ml bottle, 50 IBUs apparently. So without further ado, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. As I said to you, this one is probably only the second or maybe third black IPA that I've had from Germany. I think the only other one that really springs to mind is the one that I had from Campbell, Bavaria. But let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the taste, and then I'm very curious to see what this beer has in store. I just need to be careful with this because it has been in the bottle a little bit, but I think this will be really, really quite nice. You can see there is a bit more of a head to this one because it has been in the bottle for a little while, but as long as the beer tastes nice, then who really cares? It's all about how the beer actually tastes. And these new wave German craft breweries tend to do some very, very special beers. So as you can see with this one, if I hold this up to the light, it's a lovely dark kind of ebony rosewood colour. You can see there's a solid finger and a half of a frothy kind of light beige coloured head on this one. It's almost like a kind of mocha coloured head. That's going to fade away just as we go further into the tasting section of this video, I'm sure. But one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, not very many, and you can see a few little ones just creeping up towards the bottom of that head there. But I mean, overall, in terms of its appearance, it's not really surprising when you consider that this one is a black IPA. So let's take a closer look at that aroma then and just see how we get on. Oh, this is really nice actually. Now, one of the things I've always loved about German beers, and that it seems to continue into the German craft beers as well, I've always been a huge fan of the smoothness that you get from German malts, and you get that straight away with this beer. When it comes to black IPAs, I've always kind of said that I've preferred this. I tend to prefer this style when it's imperial, because I like a little bit of caramelty sweetness in there just to balance it out a little bit more. I found that some of the lower alcohol ones tend to be quite dry and really focused on the black malt rather than having a bit of sweetness to balance it out. But that said, I had the Opigord's Cascadian Dark just before just before I'm filming this one, and that was 5.5%. So this one at 6.5 is a little bit stronger, and Germans do seem to value smoothness in their beers in my experience. So I'm really curious to see what this one turns out, because I think going by what I like from, for example, a Schwarzbier or the Czech Tmavy, which is its kind of pseudonym if you like, I think the Germans have a very good base for creating some really nice black IPAs. But straight away with this beer, you get a lovely kind of brown bready quality out of it. It's almost like a German kind of rye bread sort of thing. You can smell some of that roasty black malt in there as well. There is a wee bit of a biscuity note to this one, but it's really, I don't get too much in the way of a kind of thicker caramel or a sort of treacly molasses to this one. It really is more kind of smooth and bready. A little bit of a, as I say, a little bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive sort of biscuit coming out of the aroma here, but it's really interesting how that goes together in this one. The fruitiness out of this beer, I have to say, is also quite lovely, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But for me, the malt base strikes me as quite straightforward. Black malt kind of forming the baseline, a bit of that sort of German brown bready, rye bready quality sitting on top of it, a wee bit of a biscuity sweetness in there, maybe one or two sort of woody undertones in the beer as well. I'm sure in the actual flavour it will be a little bit more kind of complex and things as well. But yeah, the malt base is pretty straight up in this one. It's got that typical kind of German smoothness to it. That's why I kind of fell in love with German beers. As I've told you before, my whole love of beer started with the Bamberg Rauch beer, Schlenkerla, and things like that. Then it evolved to Helles Dunkels and Doppelbocks and other things. And then the German craft beers to me are just very interesting, because you get a lot of the German traits in the beer, but you get an American kind of flavoured beer, if that makes sense. So yeah, this one there, the malt base in this, I think, it comes across as being very, very well balanced. I like that. So yeah, on the hoppy side of things, you can pick up a little bit of earthiness in there. As you kind of focus on the fruity side of the beer a little bit more, you will get a little touch of a kind of grassy sort of floral type thing. I do wonder if they would have used Northern Brewer in this. It's a very popular hop to use in terms of Doppelbocks, and there's something about the fruity quality of this one that tells me it's either Willamette, which is American hop, very popular in black IPAs, or it will be Northern Brewer, which is a very popular Doppelbock hop, because there is, the way that the grassiness and the floral qualities come out in this beer, there is something German about it. Because I've always said to you that the German hops, regardless of whether it's some of the higher alpha acid ones like the Hallertau Blanc or the Mandarina Bavaria, or whether it's the kind of original ones, the Hallertau Mittelfrüh and the Tittnanger and things like that, the lower alpha acid ones, you've got Hercules and Perl and other things, Hersbrucker, you've got all these other kind of hops in there too. Regardless of what one it is, you always get a lovely bright floral quality from these ones, and quite a bright grassiness as well, and there is just a hint of German character, just a bit of German noble quality to this beer. So I do wonder if there is a bit of Northern Brewer in here, perhaps along with Willamette. But on the fruity side of things, for me, you can pick up a nice kind of blackberry, blackcurranty kind of note to this one. There's some juicy figs sitting in there as well, and you've got just a wee tiny touch of a grapefruity note. The other thing it could be is Cascade. It could have a little bit of Cascade in it, just going from the aroma. So yeah, it's got the bright floral qualities that you could maybe associate with Cascade, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's maybe Cascade and Willamette, or Cascade and a little bit of Northern Brewer, or something like that. It could well be as well that the bittering hop is either a Hallertau or a Tittnanger or something like that. I'm guessing. I always like playing guess the hops when it comes to these beers. But yeah, the fruitiness that's in this one is very, very nice. Simcoe, of course, is a very popular hop to use in black IPAs as well, and I'm not sure exactly how old this, or how long this beer has been out for, because if it was produced around 2017, 2018, maybe it's Simcoe that would be in this one. But the fruitiness, as I say, lovely kind of, there is a little bit of that grapefruity note to it, but mainly it's kind of blackberries, blueberries, black currants. It's got that sort of juiciness to it and some juicy kind of figgy notes too. But a very smooth and quite bright black IPA in my mind. I like the kind of green side of the hops in this, the kind of more floral notes. I love the juicy fruitiness as well, and then the smoothness of the malt base for me is typically German, so it makes it very, very interesting. So let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. This one is the Mr. T, a black IPA. It's 6.5%, kind of brewed as a sort of collaboration or a tribute to, if you like, to give you the full name, the Makal Association for Stray Dogs and Animal Welfare, MASDAW, just to let you see that, which is quite nice. There you go. But brewed to kind of pay tribute to them, a black IPA from Buddleship Brauerei in Hamburg in northwestern Germany. Let's get stuck in. Slange, Skål, Prost. Ooh, that's really nice actually. First impression is that it's got a lovely juicy sweetness to it, but then when it goes into the palate, it really does go in and dry out the middle of your palate, and then it starts to get sweeter. This is nice. I like this one. This gets a thumbs up from me straight away, but we need to let the flavour develop a little bit to kind of fully appreciate what's going on, I think. Yeah, I like this, I really do. Where to start with this one? I think this is a solid black IPA. As I say, this is a style. I mean, again, if you're watching from Germany, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think even amongst the newer kind of new wave craft breweries in Germany, the black IPA isn't a style that you're going to find all that often. I mean, you've got Frau Gruber, you've got Yankee und Kraut, Camber Bavaria, I'm trying to think who else. In Hamburg you've got Altes Mädchen. Who else have you got? I mean, Hamburg's Braukunstkeller. You've got some really, really nice new wave German breweries over there at the moment, and even amongst these newer ones, you're not going to find Freigeist Bierkultur is another one. I mean, you're not going to find too many black IPAs in Germany, but this is a really nice example of the style for me, and it's definitely one of the drier, more bitter ones that I've come across, but I think everything else about this beer is really well balanced. And as I said, I think I always like a kind of smooth and slightly sweet malt base to my beers, and I think that's why I like German beers so much, is because of that kind of smoothness that you get out of them. So for me, this gets a thumbs up. I like this. If you like a black IPA, I think you will enjoy this one. So probably a good way to describe this beer. This one has a little bit of that kind of Czech smoothness to it. I find the Czech beers even thicker and breadier than the German ones, to be honest with you. So it's got a little bit of that Czech kind of Tamavi smoothness to it. So if you like a Schwarzbier or Tamavi, but you want a wee bit more of an American kind of fruitiness, this is definitely a good one to go for. Yeah. So let's kind of break the flavour of this one down then. In the middle of your palate you can feel that kind of roasty black malt, that blankets the middle of your palate, but quite quickly, after the first few sips, when your mouth adjusts to it, you can feel a nice kind of brown bready quality just blanket in the middle of your palate. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a wee bit of carafa in this. I think it's just quite minimal though. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a wee bit of the Weirmann carafa malt in this one, because the drier notes that you get out of this beer, it really does come across a little bit like a kind of bread crusty note, to be honest with you. It comes across like a sort of German bread crusty quality in my mind. Yeah, I really like how that goes together. I mean, the malt base in this beer really is just lovely. I love the way that the black malts are balanced by the kind of brown bready and bread crusty malts on top of that. When you go into the centre of your palate, you do get a little bit more kind of sweetness out of this one. You do get a little bit of that kind of brown sugary quality, and as you move back out from the centre of the palate there, you start to get a bit more of the kind of biscuity notes. And if you go to the front corners of your palate and move in, you will detect a few kind of woody undertones to the beer as well, which is really nice. So for me, it has that lovely, it's just got that typical German smoothness to it. For me, German beer is all about the sessionability and all about the smoothness, and this one, it's like it really is like that. It's got everything you expect from a black IPA plus the German smoothness, so it hits the spot for me in quite a few areas. So thumbs up to Buddleship Brauerei for this one. I'd love to try their West Coast IPA and their New England IPA as well, so hopefully I can get a hold of those somehow. But this, pardon me, this is definitely a nice introduction to the brewery, so yeah. It's one of these beers that doesn't really do anything surprising for the style, but it just does it really well. And I mean, with the amount of craft breweries that are out there these days, you can't really ask them to do much more. I mean, it's difficult for breweries to really kind of stand out these days, but I can tell you that this is a really nice example of the black IPA style. So to be able to brew a style that's not really commonly made these days, and to do it this well, I think is pretty good. So check out this brewery if you get the chance. Let's focus on the hoppy side of things then. So back corners of the palate, there is a little bit of earthiness there, and as you come further forward along the side of the palate, you get a little bit more of a kind of floral, aromatic-y kind of thing coming out of this one. Going from the way the floral and earthy kind of things are, I think it's a combination of American and German hops in this one. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Northern Brewer and a little bit of Williamette or something like that that's in here, but you do get a nice little bit of floral aromaticity out of this one at the front corners of the palate. Round the front curve of the tongue, you've got a little bit of a lighter sort of grassy thing there as well. Then behind the front curve of the palate, you've got a really nice kind of oily bubble where the juicy, fruity esters from the hops start to roll their way out of the beer. So yeah, for me this one's nice. There is something that's telling me there might be a bit of Simcoe in here as well. There's just something that's a bit, it just sort of triggers some of my memory, if you like. I do wonder if there is a bit of Simcoe in this beer, because just the way some of the fruity notes are coming out. So yeah, could it be Northern Brewer and a bit of Simcoe? I don't know. Could well be. But if you go towards the back of the if you go towards the back of that oily bubble, there is a little bit of that darker kind of grapefruity note. And then as you come further forward, it sort of smoothens out a little bit, and then you start to get the juicy kind of blackberry-ish, black curranty flavours out of this one. You've got some lovely figgy qualities to this beer as well, and those kind of linger in the aftertaste. It also becomes a little bit sharper the further that you go into the aftertaste as well. And bear in mind that this one's been in the bottle for about 2 months or so at the point that I'm filming this review for you, so it has, you know, I've had this beer for a little while, but I think, you know, with black IPAs you can afford to let them kind of mature in the bottle a little bit, and I think this one really is coming across quite nicely. Does it say when it was bottled, actually? It doesn't actually say when it was bottled, but I think this one is in really quite nice condition at the moment, I have to say. But yeah, this is a very nice example of the black IPA style. Definitely one of the kind of smoother and kind of sweeter ones that I've come across. Or I think maybe sweet isn't the right word. It's maybe one of the smoother and more kind of juicy, fruity ones that I've come across. But I think, you know, it is a very nice beer. So have a go at this one for yourself and just and see what you think. It's really cool to be able to find just a random brewery from Hamburg when I was over in Japan. I love reviewing German beers for you, and so this one I think was a really nice find. Hopefully I can try some of the others from this brewery as well. But yeah, in terms of black IPAs, this one really is quite nice. The further you go into the aftertaste, you get a little bit more of a blackberry, black curranty kind of flavour out of this, but you get some of the juicy kind of figgy notes just lingering there in the aftertaste. So if I had to guess the hops, there is something that makes me want to say Simcoe. I think there might be a bit of Northern Brewer in here. Could it be the three of them? Could it be Simcoe, Northern Brewer, and a little bit of Cascade? Could it be like that? There is just something about, I think there's Cascade in here. I'm pretty sure there's Cascade in this one. But Northern Brewer and Simcoe. It's either both of them or it's one or the other. I'm not sure, because there is a little bit of a kind of German noble quality to the hoppy side of this beer. So I'm tempted. I'm sort of 50-60% sure that there's Northern Brew in this. I think there's Cascade, but the other ones, I don't know. As I say, play and guess the hops is always quite good fun, I have to say. So yeah, I really like how this goes together. This gets a big thumbs up from me. So a very smooth and quite juicy and fruity black IPA in my opinion. So yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say that this beer is fairly mid-bodied. The carbonation is very, very smooth. It leans towards, it's got a little bit of an oily character to it, but at the same time it's quite wet in its mouthfeel. The further you go into the aftertaste, it starts to dry out. You really get some of the black malts pushing their way up through the kind of sweeter and smoother aspects of the malt base in this one. I do suspect there's a wee bit of Weyermann Carafa in this one because of the sort of dry, toasty, bread crusty notes that are in here. But yeah, it really has a very nice kind of blend of flavours there. I like how this goes together. So yeah, the IBUs, I think it said on the back of the bottle that it was 50. Yeah, it was 50 IBUs, this one. I maybe would have thought, I think, you know, I think in fairness, I might have said like 60-ish. I might have said about 60 for this one. I might have thought that it was just a little bit higher than that. But the malt base, as I say, very smooth, good bit of bitterness from the black side of the malt base. You've got a good bit of bitterness from the hoppy qualities as well. A lovely, juicy, fruity quality. It's almost a wee teeny bit tart, and that's maybe just because the beer's been in the bottle so long. So maybe a teeny little bit of oxidation going on, but it's, you know, the beer still tastes good. That's the main thing. But lovely smoothness to the malt base, a little touch of sweetness in there as well. And overall, this is just a lovely black IPA. So in terms of comparing this to the rest in the style, it's got the smoothness of a German beer. It's got a smoothness of a Titmavi or a Schwarzbier. It's definitely got that to it. But it's got some lovely juicy fruity notes. Compared to other black IPAs, it's quite smooth and a little touch sweet, but also quite juicy and fruity in my mind too. But a lovely beer, and I'm glad that I was able to introduce this one to you as my first beer from Buddleship Brauerei as well. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one was the Mr. T, a 6.5% black IPA from Buddleship Brauerei in Stehlingen in sort of the kind of northwestern bit of Hamburg in northwestern Germany. Thank you again for watching my beer reviews. As always, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Buddleship Brauerei as well. Hopefully I can return to these guys at some point soon. I do need to get back to Hamburg and try a few more of the kind of local brauhouses and things like that, so definitely something to do at some point in the fairly near future. Until the next time, Slanger just now, and I'll catch you guys later. The Mr. T Black IPA, 6.5% from Buddleship Brauerei, Hamburg, Germany. Slanger, Skål, Prost.